Hi folks, this is Klaus at Top Hydraulics. I'm going to talk to you today about the convertible top hydraulic system on the Volvo C70. Model year designation are a little bit different from country to country, roughly model years 2006 through 2013. The hydraulic top in this car is pretty awesome. It's been very well engineered, and I'm going to show you what can go wrong on the hydraulic end of this, and with the good news, show you how to fix it, how to take care of it. Top Hydraulics rebuilds hydraulic cylinders, makes new hydraulic hoses, rebuilds pumps. This is what we do all the time, and that's why I'm going to talk to you about it. So the convertible top system, you've seen it in action. It folds very nicely. It's quite a feat of engineering how the three panels fold on top of each other into the trunk and still leave room for luggage, and even have the feature of load assist, where if you want to load the trunk you push a button and the lowered top raises up a little bit inside the trunk so you can fill the luggage area. Anyway, what can go wrong on the hydraulic end here? Well, let's talk first about what's in the system hydraulically. We have a pump that is in the forward lower area of the trunk, and it feeds 11 hydraulic cylinders in total. Let's go over those cylinders in detail, what they do. We'll start in the rear. We have the two boot lid or trunk lid cylinders that flip the trunk lid backwards. We have a distributor here that gets fluid supplied from the pump to the distributor, from the distributor then to some various cylinders. So trunk lid cylinders, here are the cover cylinders. These are the cylinders that extend the plastic cover or storage cover for the convertible top. Some people also call them tonneau cover cylinders. Again, one each on each side. Here are frame lock or rear frame lock cylinders that latch the rear portion of the convertible top down. Here we have the master cylinders or main lift cylinders. They are mounted roughly over here, that will lift and retract the main portion of the convertible hardtop. Here we have the roof cylinders that are mounted roughly around here, and that mostly moves the front portion and the mid portion of the roof around and latch them to each other. And lastly, we have the front lock cylinder that is mounted in the top panel in the center in this direction, and it moves the locking mechanism to lock the front of the hardtop to the windshield header. The hydraulic cylinders will fail at some point. How soon they fail depends mostly on the age of the car and on the temperature climate that it's been exposed to. Why is that? Well, each cylinder has on average 7 seals inside. The seals that fail first, ironically, are either on the bottom or at the very front of the cylinder. Those are seals that actually just seal metal parts of the cylinder to each other. There are gland seals in the front. There are plug seals on the bottom. Then there's a piston seal, obviously, that divides the fluid from top and bottom of the cylinder, so pressure can be applied. And there are port seals. There are also wipers that keep dirt out. The gland seals and the plug seals are made of a material that will decay fairly quickly with time. It's unfortunately planned obsolescence. It could have been done a lot better. Top Hydraulics does put in Viton seals that will far outlast the original seals. Our rebuilds should last about 30 to 50 years, whereas new cylinders will last, depending on circumstance, environment, somewhere between 10 and 20 years. So what else can go wrong in this system? The pump, of course, is fairly intricate. You know, it has a pressure relief valve that is actuated from the inside. If you ever have to manually move the top, you will pull a cable that releases the pressure and lets you move the cylinders without them getting blocked. It has a number of solenoids that distribute the flow to the various hoses to move the cylinders in various directions. The pump has a bunch of internal valves, fancy ones, that will eventually fail, and it has the electric motor, impeller, and the rotor piston assembly in here. If your car has been flooded or has had serious water intrusion, then it's possible that this pump got wet and just the motor got bad. If you have water intrusion into the pump, that's a bigger deal. There's also an impeller that can go wrong inside the pump, but in the long run, the most important failures on this pump are actually internal, and those are things that are not absolutely not a do-it-yourself fix, and there are no parts available for that. So if you have a pump failure, actually the right thing to do is to send it to Top Hydraulics to get it rebuilt, or get a core exchange, where we send one from our inventory first, then you send yours back for a core refund. And the same applies for to the cylinders. We are going to show you later how to take each and every cylinder out of the car. It's actually quite easy if you know how, and with that you can do the job yourself if you're willing to pay attention to detail and you have a little bit of help moving parts around. Lastly, what else can go wrong? The hoses. The original hoses in this system, unfortunately, are a little bit under-designed. They have been designed to work about 10,000 cycles if they're installed correctly and if nothing else goes wrong. But it's not an ideal world. We do see a lot of hose failures on the C70, mostly because the walls on these hoses have been designed just to do the job. There is not much extra material there. Top Hydraulics makes better hoses with slightly thicker walls and a lot more wear resistance, also able to hold up to about 20 times the pressure in this hydraulic system. The hoses connect to the pump or the distributor on one end and to the cylinder on the other. They're fastened to the cylinders with clips that slide in these rails, so they're actually easy to take out. And the main part about removing these hoses is just to keep track of how they're routed and put them right back the way they were before. You do not have to preemptively replace any hoses in your C70. If they're not failing, then they're okay. They've been designed to do the job. It's only if they have been installed incorrectly or used under harsh conditions that the hoses will fail. Whereas the cylinders positively will fail at some point, and at some point you will want to replace those cylinders. Again, easy job to do, and you may well consider doing the whole set in one go instead of one cylinder after the other, because what happens is, if you have a cylinder failing on one side, well, the seal in it has aged. All the seals in it have aged. The first seal that fails has aged to a point that it leaks. Well, the same seal on the other cylinder on the other side is the same age, and it will have decayed just about as much. So if one cylinder fails, it's almost certain that the other cylinder will fail within a very short period, within days or weeks of you replacing the first one. So at the very least, go in pairs. I will also tell you which cylinders tend to fail first. Those are the ones that are exposed to the most heat. How are they exposed to heat? Well, particularly the ones that are mounted in the roof close to the top, where there's not a lot of insulation and they get very hot from the sun beating on them. There's the front lock or top lock cylinder will fail early, as will the roof cylinders and the cover cylinders. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cylinders will be the first ones to fail. Then the trunk lid cylinders last, the main lift or master cylinders, because they're well protected farther down inside the car. Hope that makes sense, and next we will show you how to remove these cylinders from the car.